Hi friends, happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, April 15th, and we are going to continue learning about plants and pollination, and I'm so excited to get started, and I hope you are as well. Let me share my screen with you so you can see our PowerPoint for today. Let's see. All right, today is Wednesday, April 15th. 2020. We are on Module 3, Unit 2, and today we'll be working on Lesson 4, okay? So let's read our target. Our learning target today is I can collaborate as best as I can with my partner. I'm your partner today. You're all so lucky to answer questions using information from the text, What is Pollination? So again, friends, we are going to use our text to answer specific questions about pollination. So here's the workbook, but you guys don't have your workbook. So I'm going to create a Google Classroom form. And since we're collaborating, I'm going to do some of them with you, and then you're going to do some of them on your own, okay? So that is how our lesson is going to run for today. Before we get started, let's do a quick review. Remember, friends, the word pollination. The definition is to move or carry pollen to fertilize a flower in order to produce seeds. That is what pollination is. Pollinator is animals such as bees, wasps, butterflies, and other small animals that visit flowers and move their pollen. So pollination, pollinator. And let's review exactly what happens when these animals visit a flower. So let's look at this first box right here on your screen. The first box says a bee goes to a flower to get nectar. Pollen sticks to the bee's body. It flies to another flower to get more nectar. While it's there, pollen falls off onto the flower. And the last box shows that this flower makes new seeds and then a new plant grows. So those are the 3 steps of pollination that we've already talked about and we've already learned about, but I just wanted to be sure that that information doesn't fall far from your mind because it's super important to understand these 3 steps and why they are so important. All right, remember, oops, wait. I went too fast again. Here we go. Remember, friends, our Unit 2 guiding question is, how do pollinators help plants grow and survive? Let's keep learning together to figure out the answers to these guiding questions. All right, so now it comes the part where we have to collaborate, but I'm at my house and you're at your house, so we're going to pretend to collaborate together, and I'm going to hope that you are playing along with my collaboration game. So I think for this one, it says that we have to look at different pages. Let's read the directions. It says, with your partner, that's me, I'm your partner, reread the pages listed. Using the text, discuss and answers to the questions. You do not need to write down your answers. Well, you're right. You're not going to write down your answers. Instead, you're going to type your answers to me, okay? So I'm going to do the first 2 bullets. I'm going to have us reread pages 4 and 5, and we're going to answer what is a pollinator. I'm going to do it with you, reread pages 6 through 7, and answer the questions, what happens during pollination, and after pollination occurs, what happens to the plant. And it says to use the diagram on page 7 to help us. Remember, pictures help us. And then on your own, I will reread pages 10 and 11, but you're going to answer on a Google Doc or on Google Classroom, sorry about that. What are 3 traits of flowers that attract pollinators to them? And then I will reread page 12 and you will answer, why are pollinators important to people? Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. I am going to make this smaller. I'm going to pull up my doc cam and let's see, I'm going to make this actually super big like that. And then I have my workbook that we will use, and I have my book. So let's get started. I was going to say the one thing I didn't have was a pen, but look at that. It's right here next to me. Okay, so the first thing it says is reread pages 4 through 5. So let's see. Here's page 4, here's page 5. We are trying to answer what is a pollinator, okay? So I am going to reread all of this section, and then we together, I'll do this part if you promise to do the next ones on your own, to answer what is a pollinator. So it says, what is pollen? Pollen is the yellow, white, or brown powder at the center of most flowers. Pollen is an important food for bees and some other animals, an important part of flowers. Pollen is a very important part of many flowers. It is the part of a flower that plants need to make fruit, seeds, and new plants. To make new plants, pollen has to move from one flower part to another of the same kind of flower. Most flowers need pollinators to move their pollen. Pollinators are animals such as bees, wasps, butterflies, and other small animals that visit flowers. So I just read it. What is a pollinator? Well, I'm going to write down a pollinator is an animal. You can't see what I'm writing. It's not going to help you. A pollinator is an animal such as bee, wasp, butterfly that visits flowers for nectar and moves pollen from one plant to another. That's what I would answer for what is a pollinator. Now it wants me to reread pages 6 through 7. It wants me to look at what happens during pollination, and it also wants me to answer the question, after pollination occurs, what happens to the plant? So I'm going to turn to page 6 through 7. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to model answering the question, and we're going to pretend that we're collaborating. So it says, what is pollination? Some flowers have male and female parts. The stamen is the male part of the plant that makes pollen. Some flowers have one stamen and others have many. The pistil is the female part of the flower. It is made up of a style, stigma, and ovary. The stigma is at the top part. It receives the pollen. The style is the pollen tube. The pollen travels down through the style to the ovary. The ovary contains ovules. How a plant grows. When pollen moves from a stamen to a stigma, pollination has taken place. After a flower is pollinated, its petals fall off. The ovaries of the flowers become fruit, and the ovules become seeds. The fruit of a plant can be a vegetable or nut, as well as a fruit. The fruit of the bean plant below are the bean pods. The seeds are the beans inside the pods. So it says, what happens during pollination? So what happens during pollination? So it's when pollen moves from the stamen to a stigma. When pollen moves from the stamen to the stigma, pollination happens. So it has to move in order for pollination to occur or to happen. And then it says, after pollination occurs, what happens to the plant? So the first thing that happens, there's three things that happen. So the ovaries of the flower become, let me see, it says, after the flower is pollinated, here, let me read this section to you. After a flower is pollinated, its petals fall off. So that's the first thing that happens. So I'll write a 1. Petals fall off. Okay. The petals fall off. The ovaries of the flowers become fruit. Okay, that's something else that happened. The ovaries become fruit. And the third thing is the ovules become seeds. Ovules become seeds. Okay, so that is the three things that happen after pollination occurs. So now it says to reread pages 10 through 11. And then what are 3 traits of flowers that attract pollinators to them? So let me turn to those pages, and then you're going to type in your responses, okay? So it says, shapes and colors. Most animals pollinate when they look for nectar. Nectar is a liquid found in many flowers. The bright colors and sweet smell of a flower tells pollinators that the flowers contain nectar or pollen for them to eat. Flowers that are pollinated at night have very strong scents to make it easier for pollinators to find them. So I think if we're going to collaborate together on this one, shapes, colors, and right there. Shapes, colors, and so what 3 traits of flowers attract pollinators to them? The shapes, the colors, and the, okay, and then it says, reread page 12. Why are pollinators important to people? Wow. Oh my gosh, look at all this yummy, yummy stuff for your belly. That's why they're important. Did you know that more than 1/3 of the food you eat depends on pollinators? Pollinators make plants healthier so that they can make a lot of food. There are thousands of kinds of pollinators. Most vegetables, fruits, and nuts come from plants that were pollinated by insects, birds, bats, and other small animals. All these foods, the foods shown on the page and many more came from plants that were pollinated by insects and other animals. So friends, you're going to type in your response to why are pollinators important to people. I'm going to show this image again because it is so beautiful and so yummy. I really enjoyed working with you friends today. You are going to log into your Google Classroom. You're going to answer these 2 right here on your own, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends.